This is my AGT LRT23 Chinese manufactured mini skid steer. If you've kept up with the channel, you know that I've been bragging on this thing since day one. It's an absolute workhorse, and it's my go-to for heavy lifting around the house. But now the first signs of problems have appeared, and the mini skid is down. So in this video, I'm going to identify the symptoms that we're having. We're going to diagnose and troubleshoot this, and then attempt to fix the AGT LRT23 mini skid steer. All right, so let's talk about some of the symptoms that this thing is having, and maybe you can help me out with it, just in case this is a multi-part video. Here's what's happening. So if this thing was together and I cranked it up right now, it would work just fine. It would run just fine for about 10 or 15 minutes. And after about 10 or 15 minutes of good hard work, this thing has died, right? You can hear it start, just choking out. I don't know if it's literally choking out, but it's starting to sputter, and then it eventually dies to the point where it's hard to crank. It doesn't even want to stay cranked. But this is interesting for two reasons. One, it's not doing it when it's cold, so it almost goes in through like a reset. But two, this choke lever right here, if I manipulate this choke lever while it's doing that, now keep in mind, this thing has been running for 15 minutes. You shouldn't be able to manipulate the choke lever and it actually improve. So that leads me to believe that this is probably a fuel issue, because by manipulating that choke, I'm actually introducing less air, which is making it run more smoothly, which tells me there's less fuel in there than what it actually needs. Additionally, for example, what I was doing last night was I was actually getting up a small tree, like stump. It was under a great load, and that's when it really started to happen. So that's when it needs the most fuel, because if you know anything about these engines, when this thing's under load, that engine is going to try to, deliver more. All right, so that's when it's really happening. So I said all that to say, I think we have a fuel issue. We've got a fuel filter right here, which this fuel filter, I don't know if you can see that, but there is fuel in it right now. I don't think we have a priming issue, because when I'm running this thing, the fuel is up here at the top. And even when it sputters out, I've looked down at this thing and it's full of fuel. So I don't believe that we have a prime issue, okay? I think it could be something else. So I've got a couple theories, and you just let me know what you think here in the comments. So theory number one is this could be clogged, where it's not sending as much fuel as what the engine actually needs. And I say that because I don't know if you watched that video of whenever I removed the cover to the hydraulic tank of my mini excavator, but it was full of just, I say trash. It was remnants, I think, of whenever they made it. So I don't know what this fuel tank looks like inside, but if it represents anything of what that hydraulic tank looked like from my mini excavator, it's in horrible, horrible shape. So even though this machine only has 15 hours, there is a chance that could be clogged enough to where it's starving for fuel. Another thing that it could be, and this is why I have this carburetor off, what if this carburetor is already clogged with some junk? It shouldn't. It only has 15 hours, but who knows? So I think what we're going to do, step one, I have all the stuff removed, is I'm going to take this carburetor apart and just make sure that it's clean. Even if it is clean, I'm just going to go ahead and clean it just to roll that out. Set that off to the side. Good news is I am not seeing junk. There's nothing sticking out to me that's saying this is a carburetor issue. Okay, but since I have this thing apart, I'm gonna go ahead and clean all this, put it back together. Curious if this has junk in it. Let's do a little backflow. Let's do a little backwash and just see what happens. All right, I got a syringe full of fuel. You see, I don't know if you can see that, but it kind of looks like there's some garbage in there. Give it a shake. But there's definitely, it looks like rust sediment. And believe it or not, it's actually a little bit challenging for me to push the fuel through. A lot of crap, look at that. I'm gonna push a little bit more through. Oh yeah, look at that. There's more rust color coming out. The fuel is getting through a little bit easier now, though. Here, we're on a new spot here. Look at all that. It's definitely from the fuel tank. Let's give it a good shake. Wow. Okay, we just cleaned this fuel filter out and you saw what came out of it. It appears to me that it's just a lot of rust, probably from the fuel tank, that this thing is caught. And I was actually just, after I cleaned this out, I thought about actually just using this because this is $184, which is nuts, and I'm not going to spend that much money. But I just got back from Home Depot and check this out. I found this one from Home Depot. This is Power Care. The model is 987785. I don't know if this is going to work yet or not, but I think it will work. This one has 1/4-inch ends on both sides. It also has a step up to 5/16 if you needed that, but we just need the 1/4-inch one. So I'm going to try this one. Okay, there we go. That's the one we're going to go with. And what I really like about this is it's clear. And whenever this thing gets clogged up with more rust, I should be able to see it a little bit better than I could see it with this one right here. Home Depot comes through again, if this works. I'm going to flip this back over. This is our fuel filter, and there's a little cutout, which this, amazingly enough, it actually fits. folks, and just like that, we are ready to try this thing out. After cleaning out this filter right here and seeing how much crap came out of this, I bet it's gonna work. I bet that was it. I am gonna keep this though. $184, I may frame it, you know, mount it to the wall or something. Okay, it's the next day, and this is the moment of truth. Did replacing the fuel filter fix the issue? So I never did prime this thing, but I'm gonna see if it'll crank right now. It may take a few times. So now let's take it up in the woods. I'm gonna run this thing until it gets warm and see if it shuts down. Okay, so I ran the mini skid steer for around 30 minutes in a patch of woods behind my house, and I'm happy to report that the engine didn't shut down, there was no sputtering, the LRT23 is good to go again. And thankfully we fixed this for a whopping $10. Now, although that fuel filter fixed this issue for today, there's still kind of an elephant in the room we hadn't talked about much, and that is the fuel tank itself. So subscribe to the channel and just keep up with these videos, because 6 months, a year from now, if this happens again, I will probably end up finding a solution to the fuel tank that's on this thing to make sure that it's not going to keep producing rust that's introduced into the fuel system. Now, speaking of future videos, you can see me, I'm in a patch of woods right here. That's the next video that's actually up on the top left-hand corner of your screen. Click on that. In this video, I'm using both the mini excavator and the mini skid steer to help me clear 20 feet by 100 feet of thick wooded area. Essentially, I am reclaiming some of my own property that has been lost by just a jungle of vines and small trees. So watch that one, but that's going to do it for this one. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching.